Hello and welcome to another episode of R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm Kayla McGowan, editor-in-chief, and today we're discussing empowering restoration businesses through collaboration and strategic growth. Today's special guest is none other than Jim Kowalski, and he is one of the owners for Kowalski Construction. And if you don't know who that is, they are a family-owned business that has been serving Arizona since 1967. And Jim has over 46 years of experience in playing a pivotal role in business development, marketing, public relations, and technology integration within the restoration and construction industries. Please welcome Jim.
Kayla, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, long overdue. I know you and I had a call probably months ago after the RIA AGA event that was held in Phoenix. And then it's come full circle where we're able to talk about restoration affiliates and even your business and what the industry means to you guys. I'm so excited to kind of dive into this because I think right now the industry is seeing some changes that maybe not otherwise were projected, if you will, as
Mm.
far as like claims and just things being down and slow. So that's why I think it's really important to talk about what RA really offers this industry that we have and better understanding how independent contractors can leverage associations and networks just like RA. So before we just dive into all of my grit questions, who is Restoration Affiliates and what makes this network so unique in disaster response?
That is the $64,000 question. And I like to say that RA is the best kept secret because for as large of an organization as we are, not very many people really know who we are or what we do, or if they know about, they may know about us, but not really understand what we're all about. And RA came together about 13 years ago, and it was started by a small group of guys that got together as saying, hey, look what's happening in our industry and what's going to happen to us independent restorers if things continue along the route that they are, and how are we going to establish our place in the market and continue to be successful. And so we looked at other industries and saw what was going on, that the consolidation was running rampant. And we saw that there were organizations out there, but pretty by and large, restoration was very fragmented. And you look at the percentage of the restoration companies that were participating in the larger organizations, even like RIA, and it wasn't very good. And we said, okay, so if you've got a fragmented industry with a lot of consolidation happening, then we've got to do something, but what can we do? And we decided that bringing together an organization that would be not like a franchise and not like, and I don't want to call it a scheme, but a pyramid scheme. It wasn't like first in and you have a bigger share. It was first in and last in. We're all equal partners in the organization. So we all have the same skin in the game. And so we decided that was the first cue that we wanted to have, is to ensure that it was straight across the board, 100% owned by the members, and we all had an equal share and an equal voice. Um, with that being said, we recognize that pulling us together would provide some opportunities that we could provide for membership, because we all have our own businesses to run, and yet we're all trying to work under the RA umbrella. And so if we can't bring value to the individual businesses that own the organization, then we aren't being going to be able to succeed. So being able to co-op purchasing and benefit from bigger buying power of a bigger organization was important to us, so that we could, again, benefit the individual members. Resource sharing, talking about being able to expand to meet the needs of the disaster, whatever that might be. We recently had some flooding here in Arizona. I never thought I'd see the day where we had so much flooding. We were all over the news, and I had our other RA companies calling, going, what is going on down there? We didn't know ourselves, right? This was a brand new experience for us. And we had to reach out to our partners and say, guys, we are totally undermanned for this. We don't have enough resources. We don't have enough manpower. We don't have enough equipment. And this is sort of new to us because we don't get these events here in our market. So we're not even sure how to best go about handling something like this. The outreach was unbelievable. The support, so many companies offering to help send people, send equipment, and provide resources, even remotely, to us to help us kind of be able to provide the most service that we can to our clients that were in desperate need. And that was so overwhelming that we couldn't even respond to all of the outreach. And so it was just amazing how everybody pulled together and the ability to share best practices with companies that you know very closely and understand so that you're getting good information, not just suggestions. Hey, why don't you try this? Here's an idea. I heard about this. Maybe you should try that. These are companies that already employing the ideas that they're suggesting. And then you can see that it's successful. And now we're all different. We're all independent. We all have a little different makeup. But you can take bits and pieces from the different organizations offering to help you and then make a plan that's best for your own organization and for your situation. And that is unbelievably important because if I pick up the phone right now, I turned it off for the interview, but if I picked up this phone right now and I called one of our partner companies, A, they would answer the phone, and B, they would provide me whatever I asked for. It just in terms of, hey, I've got a question. How are you guys handling this? Um, and if that person I call can't help me, they're going to put me in touch with somebody in their organization that can, right? Because we are not all experts in everything, but somebody in that organization can help me. We've got a terrific resource. It's a guide for our users. For instance, all the software that each company uses is listed in there by company. So that if you have a question and you say, hey, I'm using this software, but we're really struggling, who's the guru at your organization that we can ask some questions that can help us navigate through our challenges and get answers to our questions. And we've got that right at our fingertips. And we know who to reach out to and who to get in touch with. It's just amazing. So the fact it's like a co-op for everybody, right? And whatever that organization who's a member needs from that co-op, those services are available. It's a tremendous brain trust where people will help each other. As an organization, we want each member to be successful so that the whole parent organization is successful because we all are in this together. If we have a weak member, then we have a weak link in the chain, and that's not going to bode well. So if we need to cover a loss for a client in an area that we don't typically service, we'll have an RA member that's in that location that we know we can trust to help them take care of that loss. And that way, the client is taken care of through a trusted partner, and we don't have to turn them out to somebody that maybe they don't know, we don't know, may not be a good fit, or maybe to one of our competitors that they decide that they enjoy working with in that market and decide they want to use them in our market as well, which is not necessarily what we'd be looking for. So having the ability for us to service each other's clients in markets that we don't serve, share resources, co-op purchasing, all of that comes together and helps define who RA is and what we're all about. It's a fairly new organization, only 13 years old. We came together in 2012, but we have changed and grown so much during that time. We've been through the pandemic. We've been through the huge consolidation that's been happening out there. The private equity groups buying up companies left and right. I just took a phone call before this meeting from a competitor in the market. It's a fellow that used to work for us, went out on his own. He's now looking to get out of the industry and retire, and he's looking to sell his business, and he contacted us. We see this all the time. One of the things that I think happens is restorers were great at responding, not so good at long-term planning, right? It's what's immediate in front of us that we do really well with. And so people get to their point in their career where they're facing retirement or a retirement age and they say, well, now what? And for so many, they don't see an alternative other than to sell. And so the other option is to transition to where we've got three generations. My dad started the business, my brother and I own the business, and I've got my son and son-in-law that are in the business. So so not every company has the possibility to do succession planning within the family, and that's understood. But the only option isn't just selling. There are other options out there. So at RA, we pull together resources. We've had seminars on options for people how to position themselves so that the business can continue in their absence and they can finance their own buyout in effect and help do some training. So the education piece is important, not just from a best practices standpoint, which is very important, but also about things like succession planning and business continuation and things that all too often restorers don't think about until they're approaching the golden years and go, oh, wait a minute. And you need a runway for that. You need some time to plan and put things in place. And if you don't do it soon enough, then maybe your only option is an ESOP or a sell outright to private equity or something like that. And that might be the right choice for them, right? What bothers me is when they don't feel that they have any options and they're forced into a situation. To me, that's where it's not healthy. If they look at their options and decide that this is their best option for them, God bless them, great, move forward. But if they're moving out of a knee-jerk reaction because they don't feel they have any other options, then I think that's problematic, and problematic for the industry.
Yeah, and I would definitely say, to your point, when we first met, Leighton Healy actually introduced us, and we were talking about this very topic of, people think that they just have to sell, that that's their only option. But there's a way to properly plan. There's also networks like RA that will help you and guide you and show you the other options that are out there because, for you guys are very fortunate. You have several generations in the business, and so you know that your business design is for your family to run and operate this business, right? But not everybody else has that opportunity to your point. And so when we look at the industry, we're great with the technical things. We're great with helping customers in times of need. We're not so great to your point about business planning. That's just not our specialty, right? And so a lot of restorers find themselves in that position where they feel like they have to sell. But there's plans that you guys actually can share for businesses to not, feel like they're backed into a corner and that they have to do this. They only have one option. That's not the case. And so that's one thing that I know you guys offer. But what else does RA do and provide for independent restorers to stay competitive and to grow? I think that's the other thing. You guys offer some very unique opportunities and resources, not just with your network, but some of the things that you guys provide. So can you kind of talk about those for me?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about leveraging the buying power, and that's very helpful. And that always gets everybody's attention because we all like to save money, but also ensuring that we're helping our partners grow. When you go to like a big conference at RIA, there's a lot of chest pumping out there, and you see these bigger companies, and that's one thing to know that somebody else has done it. But when you have a partner that you know and you are familiar with their operations and you've met their people and you see them growing and you see them being successful and scaling, and that all of a sudden becomes real to you, right? It's like, wait a minute. And then to be able to go to that company and say, what are you guys doing? How are you able to do that? What is it that you're doing? And by being involved in an organization like us, we only have 39 members, right? So it's not huge, but of the 39 members, there's 131 locations and 3,800 people employed in these organizations. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And if you see something that you're struggling with, and whether it's purchasing or inventory or vehicle maintenance or management, managing your fleet, whatever it is, and you see another organization that's doing that particularly well, you can go to that organization and they will help you and show you a path and I always say, we'll show you how we do it. That doesn't mean it's right for you, but here's how we did it and what we're doing to be successful in this area. And then you can pick and choose. And you can talk to as many companies and as many people as you want to find what's going to work for you. And really being vested in the success of our partners is so critical because we all have to be strong in order for the organization to be strong. If we have a member that's failing or that's weak in an area, not financially stable, and we refer our customer to them, it might not end well. And then that's not going to end well for us or the organization. So really looking out for our partners and trying to have that attitude of making sure everybody's strong, stable, and healthy is really an important component of what we are all about at RA. That the We've crossed $1 billion now in revenue, $1.1 billion, and that is a lot of jobs. That is a lot of tasks that have been accomplished to get that done every year. And so there's so much growth opportunity in our organization as a whole for each individual organization to pick and choose from and help them get where they want to go. And not everybody wants to grow. I tell people if you're not growing, you're dying, but I think you have to be growing. And even just to keep up with inflation, you have to be growing. But maybe not everybody's goal is to be the biggest, and that's okay. Although RA, because we have a commercial focus, we have minimum thresholds that you have to be. So we tend to have larger members in our organization. But we also want to help the smaller companies, as long as they meet the threshold, grow. And if we have an associate member category for those companies that can't quite meet our threshold, but maybe we can help them by helping to develop them and grow them into becoming a full member. And that's why we created that opportunity. Is they're a good company. Maybe they're in a smaller market. Maybe they don't have the opportunity. Just haven't been able to grow to where they could become a full member. Maybe we can help them get there. And so we have two associate members in our organization that we're trying to help grow to become a full member, and be able to get to where they want to be. And we're, as an organization, helping them to do that.
Well, and I would say too, to your point, you guys leverage your resources internally and all of your members, which is very unique because we were talking about this earlier. You know, I think our split is 70-30 with independent contractors, the majority, and then our bigger franchises with the minority, right? And so we need to make sure that we're taking care of the independents just as much as the franchises are taken care of. And this group in particular is just that, right? It leverages all of the independent contractors who have processes and procedure, lots of experience and resources to help build others up. And right now, we know the industry is a little rocky, if you will, I guess is a nice way to
Mm.
say it. Claims are down, deductibles are up, premiums are up. And so that affects us in our business. And so leveraging a community that has seen some of this before and has processes or things that work in place of seeing this type of lull, if you will, makes a huge difference. You're still able to grow your business. And having those thresholds, I think, are really important too, because your members at one point were a smaller group,
Right,
right? And
right.
so it does have the feeling of, okay, if you've gotten there, we can do it too. And for your associate members, you're helping them get to that point to where now they can actually help people in the long run, right? They'll become a member and there maybe have associate members that need help and they can say, "Hey, we were in that boat too."
Yes.
You
We
know?
all had to start somewhere, right?
We did.
Yeah.
We all had to start somewhere. And so that kind of brings me to why partnerships are so important in this industry, not just with RA, but just this industry as a whole. And, how does RA facilitate these types of connections to make them not just a connection, but a partnership?
That is so key. I always like to say a prophet is never accepted in his own town, right? So we would go to these meetings and conferences, and we believe bringing your staff is so critical because you can come back and you say, "I've got a great idea, and here's what we heard," and you're all excited about it, and it falls on deaf ears, right? And oh, that'll never work here, that'll never work there. And then you start bringing your own staff, and they start talking to other people. You can tell them the exact same thing and it won't have the impact as somebody else from another market that tells them that. But that's part of just the way that it works, right? And they come back and then they're all excited about it. And they also now have strengthened their network, right? It's that I tell people to come to our organization. We have a fairly large organization. And I said, there's a lot of people here that you can come. So when I do orientations, you can ask a lot of people here for information, and there's a tremendous amount of talent and a lot of experience here. However, we had a fella on our morning huddle this morning. Today was his 28th anniversary with the company. So not only does he have a lot of industry experience, he has a lot of experience here at Kowalski, and he knows us inside and out. You can ask him questions, but Beyond that, we've got 3,800 people in other organizations. We have so many people that are doing the same job. I've got, like, my purchasing department. We have three people that are my purchasing people, and then the people that work under them. I said, there's three of you, but look at how many purchasing people there are in all of the organization. If you have questions, you can reach out to. Just recently, we received an urgent email that came across from one of the RA partners that there was a fraud on their one of their accounts from one of the big box stores, and they reached out with what happened, how it happened, and what they did about it. And I shared that with my team. And then my purchaser came back with information I wasn't even aware about what had happened to us and how they caught it and how we stopped it and what could be done about it. And things like that, you realize that we're not in this alone. We're not the only company facing these hurdles and these situations. There are other people out there. There's somebody else doing the exact same job I'm doing, facing the exact same issues and challenges. And that person is motivated to try to help me overcome my challenges. And that is so powerful, right? And being able to partner with somebody beyond just network. And there's a big difference there. Knowing that if you have a question, you're going to get straight answers, and then being there for somebody else when they need it. Because all of us are an expert in some area of what we do, and probably an expert in what we do in some ways. And just knowing who those people are and being able to leverage them to get the help that you need, and then turn around and help others. Because I've never reached out to help somebody that I didn't get a reward myself, right? Just that strengthening my experience or being able to talk about it or walk somebody through. And I've always received that. So it's an amazing thing to be able to help somebody. I always feel like I walk away with more than provided, right? And you're there to provide, and you do, but you always come away with something, and you come back with, hey, I picked up some new ideas, new concepts to share with the team and spread that. And so you can't help but become better by helping others. And when you have a tight knit group like we have, all focused on helping each other's, everybody looking out for each other, it's a great environment to be in.
And I would definitely say to your point, this opportunity helps every single position within your organization, right? Because this is a network that is going through the same processes and procedures as you are. Their chances are they have the same type of positions in their organization, or when they're growing and they have that opportunity to add said position, they can actually leverage the network and say, hey, we're thinking about adding this position to our business. How did you do it? Right. So it's not just about problem solving, it's also about, the opportunity to grow your business and implement things that have already been tested and proven or tested and changed to work for business. And I think it's very interesting to your point where you learn something from every interaction. Not even if you're the one that is being asked the question, you actually learn as well, which is great because in this business you have to have that, student hat on, if you will, for every single interaction you have because every conversation you have, you do take something away from it. And I think to your point, you said my team even taught me something that I didn't even know because they're able to problem solve or get ahead of things. And now we can share that and leverage it with the RA community. So you are a member, right, of RA. And so what has it done for your business,
Oh,
not just with growth and support, but maybe even new opportunities?
yeah, absolutely. So we have picked up accounts we wouldn't have been exposed to before. And again, I don't like to highlight that because I don't want people to be interested in RA because they think that they can get referral work. They can and they will, but I don't think that should be the main focus, right? Because otherwise we just become a referral network. Those opportunities are out there where I had a client, good client for years, and she moved to another market. I had one of my business development reps in that market reach out to me and say, hey, you wouldn't happen to know this person, would you? I said, no, I know him super well. No problem. Would you do an introduction? I said, I'd be more than happy to. And then she said, oh, and by the way, I had a person from my market move to your market. Would you like an introduction? And it turned out we both did a mutual introduction to each other and were able to sort of validate, right, and help I kind of separate them from the here's a new person moving to a new market with, they don't know anybody. And now I can put them in touch with somebody, say, hey, I know this person, I know this company. And we do business with them when we work with them very closely. And I think you guys might be in alignment. And so to be able to do that and know that, in fact, we have a multifamily committee meeting this afternoon where we'll get on a Zoom call with business development reps throughout the country. And we're talking that we have different verticals and different committees for each vertical. This happens to be the multifamily one. And we're going to be talking about certain things that are impacting the multifamily environment and changes that are being made and how it's maturing and what we're seeing and all of that to kind of, again, help educate, help leverage relationships with each other, help build and strengthen our partnerships and do all of that. And that's just, you've got to participate in order to be able to benefit the most. And those are opportunities. We have lots of opportunities. We co-op at different national events. So if I wanted to go to the NAA and have a booth there, that's very expensive for one company. If I go as part of Restoration Affiliates, we leverage our dollars and spread them wider. And we're there to market on behalf of the organization, RA, but my clients from my market are there as well. And so I'm getting a double benefit. And then I can't go to every event that is out there. There's so many different organizations. I can't go to them all, but RA does. And so even when I'm not there, right, I'm getting customer lists. Our business development teams are out there. They're sending me lists of people in my market that showed up so I can follow up and things like that. So it's leveraging my time, it's leveraging my money. It's being able to do things that we wouldn't be able to do on our own as an organization that makes such a big impact for all of us.
Yeah, and I would definitely say to your point, you are meeting with people across the country and they're seeing stuff that we're not necessarily seeing, and we're seeing stuff that they're not necessarily seeing. So it gives an opportunity to kind of give each other a heads up and also problem solve for the time that we do see what's going on somewhere else in the country. But also, to your point, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, there's been flooding going on the west side of the country. And, instead of trying to figure out how you're going to do it by yourself, you're able to leverage the RA group and say, hey, is there anybody that can help or give us some advice? And you actually end up with people coming to come help you physically,
Yes.
um, or
And send
providing you,
equipment and
right,
give
sending
us
equipment.
and tell us how to manage it and handle it. And these are people that are doing it and they do it all the time. And here in Arizona, we're like flooding. What's that? And so there's a brand new ball game for us. And here's people saying, okay, here's the best ways that we find it, and here's what we do, and sending us all their information is just it's unbelievable because there's nobody here locally that could handle the tremendous volume of work that came in at such a short period of time. Nobody can do it. And so the whole industry became saturated. Everybody was behind. And there's a lot of people in need that needed the services of restoration contractors. And the better we performed, the more people we were able to help, the quicker we could get businesses back in operation and people back in their homes and all of that. And so having a better program really, and then we learned so much from that. We probably will never have another flooding event in my life, but anyways, actually we had two about a month apart, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Uh, the people don't understand how it can flood here with so little rain, but the ground is so hard, it has no place to go, and so it just rolls. We get all that water collecting in the mountains and coming down the washes, and it has no place to go. So it caused quite a bit of damage. We were all over the news. Our partners were reaching out, going, "What is going on down there?" We're like, "We don't know. Send help."
Yeah. Like I mean, and I think too, we saw a lot of activity during the hurricane season on the west coast of the country, which
Right,
generally doesn't happen. I mean, I think at one point I looked and Mexico had three hurricanes lined up back to back. And so we're getting the remnants of the storms. Even here in Las Vegas, we flash flood fairly easily, and I know Arizona does too. And that's like with an hour or two of steady hard rain, but we've had days of rain, right? Now we're seeing something
right,
that we haven't seen before. And so being able to leverage the network, but also something that you just said really just made me feel warm and fuzzy was that your partners are reaching out to you because they're in tune with where, the network is
right.
located and they want to make sure that they're helping you. And so for those listening, really understand that this is a huge network of people who care not only about the network that they serve, their community, they care about everybody who's involved in this network. It's a very unique set of individuals that provide such information, leverage, they partner with you, they care for you. So, to Jim's point, he did reach out, but there was people reaching out to him saying like, "Hey, how can we help? What's going on?" because they care. And so, for those listening, what advice would you give to our industry professionals who want to strengthen or scale their business and maybe even join RA? What would you tell them if they were, kind of, oh, what do we do? How do we do this? This year's been really slow. Maybe they're considering selling. What would you give them as far as advice?
And you said it best earlier, and I'm going to steal this, but you said there's a difference between partnering and networking. And it really is true. I would tell anybody, don't go it alone. And that doesn't mean you have to join RA, but you get involved in a network peer group, join associations, establish good relationships with competitors, right? So we don't there's so much backstabbing out here in restoration. It is just mind-boggling to me. And if we're fighting amongst ourselves, competitors, sure, we're all competing, but that doesn't mean we have to be backstabbing and creating issues for each other because neither of us wins that way. It's hard enough business out there. We get calls from all hours of the night. Our crews are out there and then expected to show up to work the next morning and be on time and deliver. And so if we're creating enemies between each other, we're just making it more difficult. So you can learn a lot from your competitors. I'm not talking about violating any antitrust stuff. It's just what's going on? What are you guys seeing? How's it going? Um, and don't pollute the industry. And polluting the industry, the people know what your costs are and charge a fair price. Don't try to come in at just the lowest bid to buy your business. That will work in the beginning, but it won't be sustainable. And so many people because they don't have a partnership, a relationship to help guide them through that. They're out there trying to find their way through this whole industry, and that seems like a good option. And in bad, it's really bad. We look all the time, and I'm like, I had this file back in the days before computers, and it was a notepad, and I kept this list, competitors gone defunct, and I kept it in a file in my desk. And every time somebody went out of business, I wrote it down and put a date. I moved offices. We have 6 different office locations, and I moved from one office to another. And as I was packing up my stuff, I found it. Hadn't seen it in years. Hadn't even thought about it in years. And I was like, "What is this?" So I scanned it just to save it because of a piece of history. And I'm looking at this list, companies I couldn't even remember. Some I had forgotten and did remember when I saw their names. Some I read the names and couldn't even remember. And it was pages and pages and pages of these companies. And I thought, how sad is that you get the new fair-haired boy is in town and they're going to do it right. And I've had adjusters over the years tell me, well, they can do it for less. And I say, no, they can't. They think they can. They just don't know that they can't. But I know what it's going to cost me to do this job. We're very, very detailed about putting our budget together. We know what it's going to cost. We know what it takes to stay in business. And no surprise to any of the restorers listening to this, but 10 and 10 doesn't cut it. It's not going to make it. I wish our profits were 10%. I know my overhead is way more than 10%. So that's not working in our industry. And if you think that it is, you need some serious help. But when you have an adjuster thinking that's the way that it should be handled, right? And so polluting the industry is doing practices that are not good for the industry. I've had adjusters come to me and say, well, this is the way the other companies are doing it. That doesn't mean it's right. We've got to do what's right, even in the face of charging less, cutting our prices, cutting our margins. When I've had adjusters ask me, well, can you do it for 10 and 5? I'm like, I can't even do it for 10 and 10. If if I can't do it for that, if you're talking on a cost basis. And so uh, be a good steward of the industry, get involved and participate and develop relationships that are um, that are committed to helping you be successful because so many people are doing it wrong. And if you're trying to do it and go alone on your own, it's going to be a long, rocky road. Not that it can't be done. There's a lot of people back in the day because we were so fragmented and we didn't have the resources available for people. Your organization, for one, helping people. Get these, sign up for the newsletters, get the magazines, read them, learn from the other people, see what's going on out there, and do your best to try to follow the best practices and not just what you think will get you the business or keep your doors open, because in the long run, that's a really poor strategy. But unfortunately, it's so employed by so many organizations out there just trying to keep their nose above water and eke out a living. And in the end, like I said, I've got a file full of companies that didn't work so well for.
Well, I was going to say, we are, when we don't talk about the things that we're seeing and it's affecting us and our bottom line or businesses are closing, we need to come together and start holding ourselves accountable to your point, right? Because I think a lot of people talk about 10 and 10 and, is that even realistic? And to your point, no, not really, right? It's not. And so, we need to openly discuss that and bring that to attention. And even if you're a competitor in a market, at some point you're going to have to leverage your competitor, right? At the end of the day, our goal is the same: take care of our consumer, provide the best service we can, and get them back into a state of sense of normalcy, back in their business, back in their home. And so, yes, we're competitors, but I also think that it's a friendly competition, essentially. There should never be any type of aggressive competitiveness because we're serving the same community, right? And so to say, I said all that to say is, partnership is so important in this industry, not just with your competitors or other companies, but with your actual customers too, right? Because at some point your customer is going to reach out and you're going to say, "Hey, actually, I can't help you, but I know somebody who can." And that somebody needs to be reliable. And so when we start holding each other accountable, we will see trends change. To your point, Jim, people that you're talking to, such as adjusters, saying, "Well, I know somebody down the street that can do it cheaper." They might think that they can do it, but let's see if they're in business in the next 5 years, right?
And you're so right. It's with your staff, with your suppliers, with your subcontractors, win-win partnerships. It has to be that way. Do the right thing, and if you focus on that, eventually, might not be tomorrow, but eventually you'll get to where you're trying to go. And so you're absolutely right. That's what it's all about. You can't go in this alone. You need the support of your staff. They have to buy in the big picture. They've got to be on board. And if you don't bring your suppliers and your subcontractors along, they represent your company as well. And so even as much we self-perform a tremendous amount of work, but even, we're always using other subcontractors. We have our own electrical department, but not many people do. But we use HVAC companies, right? We use plumbing companies. And so you've got to have a relationship and a partnership with those companies so that they are understanding what your mission is, what your objective is, what your goal is. And if they're not in alignment with that, it's just not going to work. And the same thing with your staff. There's a lot of people that you could bring into your organization. If you need your hire and they aren't in alignment with how you do business and your culture, I tell people our culture is our culture. It's not right or wrong. It just is how we kind of operate. And if you don't fit that culture, you're not going to be successful here. And it doesn't make you a bad person if you don't fit our culture, right? It just means that the fit isn't there. And so Saturday, I celebrated my 45th wedding anniversary, right? And so I sit there and I think about that. It's like my wife and I, we have our differences, but we're a team. We are a partnership. And she sees things sometimes, but at the very core of things, we both have the same core values and the same goals and objectives. That's the important part. And that's what I tell people. That's what your culture provides. And if you bring an employee that doesn't fit that and have that, then it's probably not going to work out well for you or for them. And then why go down that road, right? Help them find a better place for them that they can thrive and be successful in, then bring them into your organization where you don't think that they have a good chance of being successful.
Well said. And also, congratulations to you and your
Thank
wife
you.
for hitting 45 years. But I would also say, too, to your point, if there isn't a fit, doesn't mean somebody's right or wrong necessarily. It's just not in alignment with where your business is or where their personal values are. And so, you know, for everybody listening and you've made it this far, there's been so much great advice here and the importance of just, building partnerships, but also understanding that success in this industry is long term. It's a long-term strategy. It's not overnight, to your point. And I think that right now we've had a couple of very unusual years that we don't usually see. I mean, especially in the claims world, and then there hasn't been
Yes.
any hurricanes. So just remember, in business and in life, you're going to have periods of great success, and then you're going to have lull periods, if you will. And we're just in one of those right now. But while we're in one of these periods, you need to leverage, um, opportunities like RA and other associations and organizations in our industry to help you grow even during times that are slow. So thank you, Jim, so much for joining us. Any last words before we sign off?
Kayla, always a pleasure, and I have to thank you for all that you do for the industry. Your insight and your background really helps the restorer community by leveraging all that you've learned, all that you gather, all that you do to help us be a stronger and a better industry. We are still, I think, as infants in our industry. I wouldn't say we're even near teenage yet, maturing years. But with the good organizations like RIA, RA, and all the work that you're doing, I think we'll eventually get there. So look forward to the day.
Yes, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. And I always learn something when we have these conversations. And for all of you guys listening, we will see you on the next episode of Ask the Expert. Take care.